Yes.
We are reading Glimpses of a Great Soul by Swami Aseshananda, the reminiscences of Swami Saradananda. And we're on the very last part of the book, on page 220 in my book. Swami Saradananda and Girish Chandra Ghosh. Often, when Swami Saradananda visited Girish Chandra Ghosh, he urged the dramatist to write about Sri Ramakrishna. His brother disciples too frequently told him, "Girish Babu, why don't you write about our master? Your reminiscences would be precious, and they would surely be published in the Udbodhan. Whatever you wrote about the master would be a source of inspiration to the world." Girish Babu always listened respectfully to their urging, and always he replied, "If Sri Ramakrishna wills it, it will be done. Without him, I am nothing." Eventually, he did write a series of articles about Sri Ramakrishna, the first appearing in the Udbodhan under the title, "The Love of a Paramahamsa Deva for His Disciple." He wrote these articles in strong, simple Bengali prose that sang with poetic charm. I have translated and collected them under the title Memories of Sri Ramakrishna. While working on these translations, I was struck with the similarity of the paths to God taken by Girish Ghosh and St. Augustine. As a young man, St. Augustine, too, led a fast life, breaking free of restraint, flinging discipline to the winds. Then, as he recorded in his autobiography, The Confessions of St. Augustine, from across a wall one day he heard a child's voice saying, "Take up and read." Soon after, he came across a copy of the New Testament lying on a bench in a friend's house, and opening it at random, he read, "Not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof." These words sank deep into his consciousness. He joined a monastery, and through the practice of study, continence, and prayer, he became a new man, a saint, and the most scholarly theologian Christianity has produced. Mysterious are the ways of the Lord. He does transform the lives of those who come to him. I believe God hears the voice of a contrite heart and replies, "Do as much as you can, but when you could do no more, don't worry. Give me the power of attorney, I will do the rest." That is what happened with Girish Chandra Ghosh, and essentially, that is what happened to St. Augustine. In the language of the Bhagavad Gita, "Though a man be soiled with the sins of a lifetime, let him but love me, rightly resolved in utter devotion. I see no sinner. That man is holy. Holiness soon shall refashion his nature to peace eternal. O son of Kunti, of this be certain. The man that loves me, he shall not perish." Now we are going into Swami Aseshananda's translation of Girish Ghosh's articles, I believe, The Memories of Sri Ramakrishna. When the responsibility of writing an article on Sri Ramakrishna fell on me, I thought it would be a very simple thing. But actually, I find the writing extremely difficult. I thought it would be easy, for I have enjoyed his unfathomable love. I have also heard from each and every disciple of his how Sri Ramakrishna showered his infinite love on them. Many a time with enraptured minds we have discussed the great love among ourselves. Whenever a disciple would recount his personal experiences, a sympathetic chord in my heart would be touched, and his experience would become vivid and living in my mind's eye. A single word of the disciple, a single incident described would make me feel that I, too, had heard such words with affection. I, too, had seen many such acts of compassion. With a single word, the disciple would relive the experience, and the listener would feel a participant. But I wonder if my readers will be able to share with equal vividness my own experiences. Shall I be able to convey to them in words? Let me ask a question. Can you describe the warmth of affection which you have received from your own mother? For myself, I could not. I could only exclaim, "Ah, mother's love, mother's love." In every act of my mother, in her every glance and movement, what I have felt is beyond my words to describe. Besides, could anyone really understand a mother's love without becoming a mother oneself? Even were such an understanding possible, an understanding of Sri Ramakrishna's love lies far beyond that. A mother's love can be said to fall within Maya. Usually love, prompted by Maya, desires only the worldly happiness of the son, seeks only his worldly prosperity and nothing more. Very often it is seen that if the son, for the sake of spiritual enlightenment, pays no attention to worldly duties, he becomes a source of annoyance to the parents. In spite of his possessing all the good qualities, if the son prefers monastic life to marriage, he becomes an object of displeasure to his parents. They advise him that there is a time for everything, that he should attend to spiritual life after discharging his duties to the world in a proper manner. If the boy does not listen to their advice, though they may not say it in so many words that their son has gone astray, they will not refrain from telling their friends and relations with a sigh of regret that he is useless and lacking in purpose. There is selfishness in the love of parents. It is seen that the father is partial to an accomplished son. As long as the son is a mere boy and helpless, the parents are unselfish. But most parents expect that they will be looked after and provided for by their sons in their old age. A father's love or a mother's love is very high indeed, but it cannot be said that it is absolutely free of selfishness. If I stretch my imagination, I can have a glimpse of my parents' love. But the love of Sri Ramakrishna, that immaculately pure and absolutely unselfish love, how can I comprehend it? How shall I portray it in words? Without attaining the state of consciousness, which is free from the touch of selfishness, free from the delusion of Maya, how shall I understand the actions of a person who has broken the bonds of Maya and is without faults? If I had attained to that state in which Sri Ramakrishna lived, the state of being totally free from Maya, and if I had had a disciple, I could then have gained the power of understanding, in a small measure, Sri Ramakrishna's love. But I don't know whether I would have been able to express it. I may or may not know the story of my own life, but the story of another man's life is a completely sealed book to me. Therefore, in this article, I shall tell only my own tale, what I felt about the love of Sri Ramakrishna in relation to me. Beyond that, I am helpless. I must speak for myself. My listeners, out of compassion for my pitiable condition, must kindly forgive me. Those who went to Sri Ramakrishna were all gentle, good-natured, and virtuous. Boys like Narendra and the others, who were considered as Sri Ramakrishna's own, visited the master at an early age. Being drawn by his love, they left their homes and later embraced the life of monasticism in order to carry out his mission. To describe his love for them will hardly give a correct picture of his love. His affection for these boys who were pure and spotless, and who had taken shelter in him by renouncing everything for his sake, was quite natural. But I too was the recipient of his love. This seemed to me something extraordinary. Sri Ramakrishna loved me unstintingly. This was a proof of the fact that he was an ocean of unconditional mercy and boundless compassion. One of the names of God is Savior of the fallen. I, as no one else, can bear witness that he deserved that name. Now, we all know the story of Girish Chandra Ghosh, I believe. Some of those who have been with the Master may be fickle-minded, but in comparison with my fickle and restless nature, they are all saints. They may have a few weaknesses. Their feet may have slipped a few times. But in comparison with my Himalayan faults, those shortcomings are nothing. From my early boyhood, I was molded in a different way. I never learned to walk a straight path. I always preferred a crooked way. In spite of my faults, I was the object of his deepest affection. The manifestation of his love was revealed nowhere so clearly as in my case. The readers will get a glimpse of it from the story I shall tell below. Sri Ramakrishna gave me refuge at a time when I was torn by conflict and brutal agony of the heart. My early training, my lack of a guardian from childhood, my wayward youthful tendencies, all these conspired to lead me away from the path of spirituality. Atheism was the fashion of the day. Belief in the existence of God was considered foolish and a sign of weakness. In my circle of friends, if one could prove the non-existence of God, one received the most extravagant praise and honor. I used to make fun of those who believed in God. After reading a few pages of science, I jumped to the conclusion that religion was pure imagination and myth. Priests had concocted it to frighten people into morality and abstention from evil doing. Wisdom lay in accomplishing one's ends by any means, fair or foul. An unworthy act became ignoble when it was discovered, and not before then. It was daylight that made sin. To fulfill one's purpose secretly was a proof of talent. To satisfy one's desire through cleverness was a mark of intelligence. But in a world ruled by providence, such intelligence does not last. Evil days are bound to come. When they come, they teach hard truths. I learned from them one big lesson. There is no way to hide a wicked deed. The saying, murder will out, is too true, as I learned. But my deeds had already begun to bear fruit. A terrible future was painted in vivid colors on the canvas of my mind. It was not the end, but only the beginning of the painful consequences that darkened my destiny. Punishment had begun, but the way to its escape had not yet been found. Friendless and surrounded on all sides by enemies who took advantage of my misdeeds to ruin me, I felt adrift in a sea of despair. I thought, does God exist? Does he listen to the prayers of a man? Does he show him the way from darkness to light? My mind said, yes. Immediately I closed my eyes and prayed, O God, if thou art, carry me across my difficulties. Give me refuge. I have none. I remembered the words of the Gita. Those who call on me only in the days of affliction, to them too I bring succor and refuge. These words sank deep in my consciousness and gave me solace in sorrow. I found the words of the Gita to be true. As the sun removes the darkness of the night, so the sun of hope arose and dispelled the gloom that had gathered in my mind. In my sea of trouble, I found the harbor of repose, but I had nurtured doubt all these years. I had argued long, saying, "There is no God." Where would the impressions of these thoughts go? It is said that doubt dies hard. Again, I fell victim to doubt, but I lacked the courage to say boldly, God does not exist. Desire for inquiry came. Looking into the current of events, sometimes faith, sometimes doubt, emerged. All with whom I had discussed my problem said unanimously that without instruction from a guru, doubt would not go and nothing could be achieved in spiritual life. Nevertheless, my intellect refused to accept a human being as a guru, for one has to salute the guru with the words, the guru is Brahman, the guru is Vishnu, the guru is the Lord Maheshwara, the God of gods, etc. How could I say this to a man like me? It would be hypocrisy. But the tyranny of doubt was intolerable. Terrible conflicts pierced my heart through and through, a condition better imagined than described. Suppose a blindfolded man, all of a sudden, is forcibly dragged into a dark, solitary room and kept confined there with no food or drink. What will be the state of his mind? If you can picture his mental condition, you will be able to understand something of my own. There were moments when I was breathless with emotion. Despair bit through me like a saw. At other times, the memories of the past revived, and the darkness of my heart knew no bounds. Just at such a time, I saw Sri Ramakrishna passing by our lane to the house of Balaram, the great devotee, and I felt irresistibly drawn to him. However, I shall describe this meeting later. Sometime previously, I had read in the India Mirror that there was a Paramahamsa who was living in Dakshineshwar. Keshab Chandra Sen visited him frequently, accompanied by his disciples. With my little understanding, I believed that the Brahmos, who had many strange ideas, had created a fake Paramahamsa. He could not be the real thing. A few days passed, and I heard that the Paramahamsa would be coming to the house of Dinanath Basu, an attorney in our neighborhood. To satisfy my curiosity and to ascertain what kind of a Paramahamsa he was, I went to see him. I returned with irreverence instead of reverence. When I arrived at Dinanath Basu's, I saw the Paramahamsa had come, and that he was giving instructions to Keshab Sen and others who were listening with rapt attention. It was dusk. Lights were lit, and they were placed in front of Sri Ramakrishna. But he began to make repeated inquiries, asking, "Is it evening? Is it evening?" I thought to myself, what pretension! It is dusk. Lights are burning in front of him, yet he cannot tell whether it's evening or not. Thinking I had seen enough of him, I came away. A few years later, Sri Ramakrishna was to come to the residence of Balaram Babu at Ramkanta Bosch Street. High-souled Balaram had invited many in our neighborhood to come and visit the master. I too had an invitation, so I went. After arriving there, I found Sri Ramakrishna had already come, and Bidu, a dancing girl, was seated by his side in order to sing a few devotional songs for him. In the drawing room, quite a large gathering had assembled. Suddenly, my eyes were opened to a new understanding of the conduct of Sri Ramakrishna. I used to think that those who style themselves as Paramahamsas or yogis would not speak with anyone. They would not salute anybody. If strongly urged, they would allow others to serve them. But the behavior of this Paramahamsa was quite different. With the utmost humility, he was showering respect to everybody by bowing his head on the ground. An old friend of mine pointed to him and said sarcastically, "Biddu has had a previous intimacy with him. That is why he's laughing and joking with her." I did not like his insinuations. Just at this time, Shishir Kumar Ghosh, the well-known editor of Amrita Bazar Patrika, arrived. He seemed to have very little respect for Sri Ramakrishna. He said, "Let us go. Enough of him." I wanted to stay and see a bit more, but he insisted and made me come with him. This was my second visit. Some days went by. My play, The Life of Chaitanya, was being enacted at the Star Theatre. I was strolling in the outer compound of the theatre when Mahendranath Mukhopadhyaya, one of the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, came and said to me, "Paramahamsa Deva has come to see the play. If you allow him a free pass, well and good. Otherwise, we will buy a ticket for him." I replied, "He will not have to purchase his ticket, but the others will have to." Saying this, I proceeded to greet him. I found him stepping down from the carriage and entering the compound of the theatre. I wanted to salute him, but before I could do so, he saluted me. I returned his salute. He saluted me again. I bowed my head, and he did the same thing to me. I thought this might continue forever. So I greeted him mentally and led him upstairs and offered him a seat in the box. After arranging for an attendant to fan him, I returned home, feeling indisposed. This was my third visit. This is what we would call a rocky start to a relationship. Before I narrate my fourth visit, I must tell you the condition of religion that had prevailed in the country at the time. During my school days, those who were called Young Bengal were the first products of Western education in Bengal. The majority of them were materialists. A small minority had been converted to Christianity. Some of them accepted the creed of Brahmo Samaj. A few of them had any respect for Hinduism. Orthodox Hindus were bitterly torn by sectarianism. Rivalry between Shaktas and Vaishnavas was strong. Vaishnavism was divided into many sects, each contending for supremacy over the other. Moreover, there were other faiths prevalent at the time. Each condemned the followers of the other faiths to the darkness of hell. Added to this, many Brahmin priests were degenerate, ignorant of their own scriptures, and not even familiar with the formalities of religion. The youths of the day, having studied a few pages of English, became iconoclasts. The materialists were considered the most enlightened people on earth because of their erudition and scholarship. The sign of scholarship was not to believe in God. But now and then among ourselves we would speculate about the existence of God. And occasionally I attended the services of the Brahmo Samaj. I doubted God's very existence. If he existed, which religion should I follow? I argued much, deliberated much, but found no solution. Thus I passed 14 long years in a fog of gloom. Then came evil days, and allowed me no rest. There was darkness within, there was darkness without, darkness everywhere. I thought, is there any escape? I have seen people taking refuge in Taraknath when they suffer from some incurable disease. My condition, too, was very serious. To get release from my trouble seemed almost impossible. Would it do me good to pray to Taraknath Shiva, the protector of his devotees? Let me test it. I made an honest attempt to resign myself to the will of the Lord. My attempts were successful. I began to believe that God was not unreal. I was saved from the danger of doubt, but was this the way to ultimate salvation? I was uncertain which way to take. I had seen the glory of Taraknath. Why not call on him again? Gradually, faith in God began to grow in me, but they said that no liberation is possible without a guru. Furthermore, I was told that one must look upon the guru as God. The very idea was revolting to me, for nothing seemed more blasphemous than to think of man as God. I must trudge on alone without a human guru. I would pray to Taraknath. Let him be my guru. I had heard of some people to whom the Lord had appeared as guru in a vision, and who thus received their spiritual instruction without a human intermediary. If he would shower such grace on me, I would be saved. Otherwise, I was helpless. But I had not seen Taraknath. What should I do then? Let me chant his name in the morning and then see what happens. I became acquainted with a painter who was a Vaishnava. I don't know if it was true or not, but he told me, I offer food to the deity every day and am convinced by certain signs that he accepts it. Unless one is initiated by a guru, the deity will not accept the offering. My mind became restless. I took leave of him, went to my room, closed all the doors, and began to weep. And shall we stop there?
Oh, boy.
To be continued next Wednesday. Any questions? This is Girish's own, in his own words, what he was feeling inside, outside, and the despair that he had felt about his life. And he had lived a very, very debauched life before he met Sri Ramakrishna. And it kind of continued a little. Those of you that are familiar with the gospel, oftentimes they say Girish arrived and he was intoxicated. He came in the room anyway, and Sri Ramakrishna did nothing but shower love upon him. Fix him a smoke, get him some sweets, take care of him. So we can see what a changed man he is by the time he wrote this reminiscence. Any questions or comments?
I have a
Sunanda?
question. I'm not familiar with Taraknath. What god
Taraknath
is-
Shiva. It's
Oh, Shiva.
Taraknath Shiva. It's one of the deities, one of the aspects of Shiva. I'm not that familiar with it either, but I think he said protector of his devotees.
Okay, thanks.
Otherwise, it would have been Swami Shivananda. Okay. Saturday, we'll have the gospel reading at 5 o'clock here in the temple. Sunday, Swami Vedarupananda will talk on understanding self-sacrifice. That should be really interesting. Then the next week, we will not have glimpses of a great soul on Wednesday. We will have the privilege of having Swami Atmarupananda, the head of Center Vedantic Ramakrishna in France. He will be here talking at 5. His topic is the universe. It's all a story. Now, if you're in Santa Barbara and can attend this in person, there will be a potluck following. We'll have Arati after his talk and then a potluck. Friday, that same week, that's the 28th. Friday the 30th, we have Swami Shantatmananda, head of Gurukwan, New Delhi. Boy, do we have lots of noise happening outside the temple today. And he will be, I'll let the plane go over. He will be talking Friday night, the 30th, on the redeeming power of Sri Ramakrishna. We've just gotten a slight preview of that in reading Saradananda, Girish's. He will also do the gospel reading on Friday the 31st. He's going to have the gospel with discussion. Saturday the 31st of June. And that's Swami Shantatmananda. He was here a couple of years ago. Maybe 3? Probably 3 years ago. So mark those down on your calendar, and we'll see you. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, nice to see you in person. Good to see you, Lido, with the universe behind you. John, I don't see Snowy on your lap.
I had to put her eye drops in, and she wasn't happy about
Yeah,
it.
she's
I
too.
don't have a comment. If Girish Ghost made it, maybe I will.
It's too hot. Okay, so we'll end. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. We'll see you in a week or so.